All right, Brandon, let's get into the law enforcement side of this, because this is what all of these protests have been about. And in your experience, I mean, I just want to come out right out, because they say that you've got to dismantle these police departments because of systemic racism. So is there systemic racism in the police departments?
No, it's not systemic racism in the police department. And the reason why they use the word systemic is because they have no verifiable facts to point to where they can actually fix anything. So they call it systemic, so you can't identify it, and they can just arbitrarily say whatever they want to say. When you look at the statistics, it is highly unlikely that there's systemic racism in the police department. First and foremost, many police departments around the country are very diverse. You look at Philadelphia's 50% black police officers. You go to Florida, you go to many of these states, even in Alabama, in Atlanta Police Department, I think, is majority black. So when you go to some of these police departments around the country, there's a lot of diversity there. So in a diversity stance, there's not systematic racism unless you're claiming that black people are perpetuating systematic racism against other black people. But when you look at the numbers of deaths, go back to 2019. It's 44 million black people in this country. There were 9 black people who were shot unarmed. And everybody who have any common sense knows that just because you're unarmed doesn't mean you're not a deadly threat, and it doesn't mean that deadly force is not justifiably used against you. But for the sake of argument, to try to throw them as many bones as we can, 9 unarmed black people killed out of 44 million. I don't even know the percentage of that. It's like 0.000006% likelihood that you'll get killed by police officers. You're more likely to get struck by lightning, die in a car accident, fall out of a plane. I mean, the chances of you getting killed by a police officer unarmed as a black man in America is none. And when you look at the shootings in comparison to white Americans get killed twice as much as black Americans. Also, white Americans who are unarmed get killed 2 and 3 times as many times as black Americans who are unarmed. And people like to use the excuse and say, well, there's more white people in the population. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you that police don't patrol everybody in the population. They patrol the criminal element or areas in which they are called to answer calls for service. So now look at the crime statistics. Black people make up 13% of the population. The criminal element of the black community, I'd say, is less than half, but just for the argument's sake, let's say half of the black community is the criminal element that are committing all the crimes and murders in the country. Well, half of that number will be about 7% or 6.5% of the population in the United States of America. So when you look at the numbers, 6.5% of the United States of America commits over half of the murders in this country. And I mean, half of the murders in this country and over half of the violent crimes in this country. So that's 6% of the population. So there's a disproportionate amount of black people committing crimes in this country, unfortunately. There's a disproportionate amount of patrolling of African Americans in this country. And even with that being said, there's still more white people that are killed. So even within the murder numbers, even within the use of force numbers, black people are still not disproportionately represented based on how much they're patrolled and how much crime that's committed.
All right, friends, I hope you enjoyed that quick hit, but before you go, there's more. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell so you'll be notified, then check out the full show that this quick hit came from, and when you're done with that, here's another video just for you. Hope you enjoy it. Have a great day.